Hello, kiddos. As you can tell, my voice is sort of better. It's not all the way back to where it was, but I figured I would get this video posted so you guys could do your homework over the weekend. So, today we're going to be talking about introductions and conclusions. One of the last things writers typically do are the intro and the conclusion, and so that's why we're saving it for the end. So, why would I need an introduction? Well, every book has some sort of introduction. Every nonfiction book has an introduction. And every chapter of every book has an introduction. And so that's why it's really important for us that we have some sort of intro for our book, which will end up being your teen activism chapter. And that every chapter of its own has its own introduction to give your reader a little bit about what your chapter is going to be about. So how do I write an introduction? First, you're going to start off with a hook. Get them interested, get them engaged, because nobody's going to want to read something if the hook isn't very interesting. Give them some background info, offer some context, the bigger picture of why it matters, which is really important because after you hook them in, they're going to want to know more information. So you're going to want to give them a little bit of extra stuff. Yes, I know, battery, you're about to die. Then you finally want to guide your readers. Let them know how the writing will go and what parts are. So here's an example of what an introduction would look like. So it would start off, imagine being as young as Malala, but with the courage and power to rally voices of support across the world. It makes one realize that we can all make a difference in the world. Now that people have heard Malala's stories and others like her, they have banded together to create organizations to help get girls a great education. This chapter outlines the 3 organizations that help, what individual activists are doing, and what you and I can do to help too. So, how this is kind of broken down, that first gray chunk is your hook. It really gets me thinking, okay, well, maybe I can do something about girls' education. Then they give a little bit of background knowledge about what the chapter is going to be about. This chapter specifically is about the organization, so I can kind of gather that from that section, that green section in the middle. And finally, it talks about the 3 major, it gives me a roadmap of what I'm going to read. This blue down here would be a great place to put your subtitles or give a little hint of what your subtitles are going to be, because that gives your readers like, okay, so I'm going to learn about this, this, and this, because this basically is your thesis statement down here. This light blue is your thesis statement. So that was introductions. Here's conclusions. You need to start off with a transition word. I saw a lot of literary essays that their conclusion did not start with the transition word. You need some sort of sentence of summary. Then you need a big idea sentence, and then a call to action. A call to action is basically calling out the reader to say, you need to do something about this. We all need to do something about this. So an example of a conclusion would be, as you can see, my transition word. This chapter outlined 3 major organizations that help Malala, what other individual activists are doing to help the cause, and what you and I can do to help. That's my sentence of summary. Girls' education might not seem like a huge issue to us in America, but it was at one point. There are still countries today where girls cannot be educated. A strong sentence. Now that this information is known, it is time to act. It is up to us to help all of the girls in this world get the education they deserve. Okay, so see how this kind of mimics your introduction, where you start off with a sentence. You kind of ended your introduction with your thesis. You're going to start your conclusion with your thesis. Then you kind of gave us a little bit of background knowledge, because I don't know how many of you knew that at one point in America, girls could not be educated. Then finally, you have this strong final statement. You have this call to action for all of us to know, okay, it is time to stand up and act. It is time for us to go and do things. Alrighty, well, that's introductions and conclusions. I hope you could hear me a little bit. I'm sorry that my battery popped up. Please make sure that you do your recap. Okay, I know a lot of us have been missing our recaps, so please make sure you do it. I will send out an email to the whole class with it, so check your email. So have a great day, kiddos.